right. The stream is online. And yes, we're ready to start.
Yes. So then, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please let me welcome you to today's year-end event. My name is Sonja Dimter, and I have the pleasure to moderate this panel discussion of the Schorlemer Foundation and the German Farmers Association, together with the Center for Rural Development. First of all, I would like to ask you to switch off the videos in case you're not one of the panelists, so that we can assure from the technical side that everything will work well. As I said, today's the year-end event. It sounds, a little bit apocalyptic, but it is not at all. Even though we look back at a difficult year, which comes to the end, and in this year, young people, or especially young people, had to face more challenges, as they already do. And today we are looking at young people in agriculture and in rural areas. And in the upcoming 2 hours, we will look at the prospects for young people in agriculture and rural areas and discuss the challenges and potentials in the promotion of agricultural professions in the green sector. Now we hear the welcome notes from the representatives of the organizations hosting this event today. I would like to invite you, Mr. Dome, to start with the welcome note from the side of the German Farmers Association.
Yes, I'm really happy to say hello to all my friends here in the meeting today. As you know, and met each other, some of you in Uganda last year. I'm a fan of this IFA project, and of course, related to that, to the basements of all these questions about agriculture and perspectives for young people in agriculture, not only in Germany or Europe, even in Africa and in the whole world. And that all related to a fantastic, I'm a farmer too, the best job you can ever make, from a really basic thing up to feed the world. And I think it could be a nice, a very good discussion today to this big umbrella between both the root basic work and the international or the worldwide need for food for the growing people.
Thank you, Mr. Dome. I would like you, Mr. Dennis Capito, to give the welcome note. You are a farmer too, and a leader of UNIFA, the Young Farmers Association in Uganda.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for the introduction. I'm Dennis Capito, the CEO for the Young Farmers Federation of Uganda. I've joined together here on this webinar as my president, Mr. Richard Semwanga, who will be one of the panelists later. So we, first and foremost, on my behalf as the CEO for the Young Farmers, I would like to thank the organizers for this virtual meeting that we are having here, and all the other people in the different parts of the world, to talk about the most important issues that are concerning youth and rural development. To just give a short brief is that 78% of the Ugandan population is below the age of 25 years. So you find that we are having a very young population, the second youngest population in the world, and Uganda still is one that is hosting the biggest number of refugees in Africa and the second number of refugees in the world. And many of the people on the move are young because they are coming from also the different parts of Africa that are surrounding us, from Rwanda, from Somalia, and all these are coming to Uganda, meaning that they are coming to settle in the rural area. And in rural areas, we need to provide them with food. So the onus is on us to find that we invite more and more young people into the sector that is having almost an average age of 58 years. And finding young people on these farms is work for both our association, but also work for government, because what makes the rural areas active is the policy that make this rural area environment, especially if the youth are to stay there. There has to be the social infrastructure and the social amenities, very good schools, hospitals, broadband and internet and everything. And but also there has to be young farmers who are doing something to act as role models for others. And that is why we stand as the Young Farmers Federation of Uganda, to be role models for others, to make the rural areas active and to entice more young people into the sector. Thank you so much. I'm not the main speaker. The main speaker for UNIFA will be the president, who will be talking about the different issues for the prospects for young people, but also talking about the partnerships also that we have with the German farmers through this international exchange program, one of the apprenticeship, but also one of the ways that we are using to entice and encourage other young people into the sector. Thank you so much, and let's have a very good and fruitful discussion in this virtual meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dennis. As usual, we already could start the discussion here only with your input. But now please let me invite Mr. Professor Dr. Markus Hanisch. He's heading the Seminar for Rural Development, to give his welcome note. Please switch on your mic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for introducing me a little bit. I'm Markus Hanisch from Humboldt University's Seminar in Rural Development, the Center for Rural Development here. And I'm very proud to be part of this today and that we can make that happen today, these 2 hours. And this year we will, in about 1 month's time, we will launch the 58th cohort of postgraduate students at Humboldt University in the 58th year of our being. And this is a very specific moment now with the coronavirus. But I think also for today and for the discussion about the future of young farmers, it will be crucial, this quality between the relationship between the cities and the rural areas, and the relationship between farmers, their associations, and young farmers associations, co-op associations, and many other stakeholders. It will be crucial how the quality of this relation will look like in the future. And we are very proud to be in the center of Berlin and its capital, but still talking about rural development issues worldwide. So let me say again, we are very happy to have joined into this event here today, and that I'm looking forward to our results. All the best for this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hanisch. Now, please, Ms. Nicole Bolomai. She is the manager of the International Department of the Andreas Hermes Academy.
Thank you very much, Sonia, and thank you for speakers. It's very great to be here today for this last event of the year. Congratulations to the Scholemmer Stiftung for having had a whole series now of interesting events, being there to foster the exchange, which was not possible this year in a physical manner, but which was, I think, in a very good manner substituted by digital events. The Andreas Hermes Academy, together with the Farmers Association, very much believes in the capacity building of young and all other farmers. And in the context of rural areas where people are, in fact, not only moving away, but also moving back to become farmers and to get into farming, we believe that capacity building is a crucial element, as there is a lot of people with not enough access to formal education in farming. So exchange is a great way of basically leapfrogging education and getting people fast to the goal of being good farmers, which is the basis for rural development. So congratulations to the event. We're very happy to foster this here. This is all part of the government of Germany initiative of One World No Hunger. So the Ministry of Development and Cooperation is sponsoring this program, of which we and the Scholem Stiftung are very much part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Before we start the discussion, and even before we get to know the panelists, please let me invite you to watch a short video. As Dennis already said, the role models are so important to have farmers who are already living, realizing a certain way of managing a farm and of farming. I would like to start with the video from the German farm Borchelhof, and later on we will get an example from Uganda. The Borchelhof will host also young farmers from Uganda in the frame of the National Young Farmers Exchange Program, which now started between Germany and Uganda. Johannes.
Yes.
And the others, please switch off your microphone and switch off your video in case you're not part of the panel. Thank you.
Sound is there? Is the sound there?
No. No sound.
Good that we planned it for. Okay, let me check. There we go.
Okay. Yes, it works.
Die Besonderheit des Betriebes ist halt einfach, dass man viele verschiedene Bereiche kennenlernt, wie die Schweinemast, Legehennen, Schafe, Ackerbau, Blumen, schon sehr umfangreich. Meine Erwartung war, dass ich auch in die Sachen eingeführt werde und zwar nicht einfach so ins kalte Wasser geschmissen werde, sondern auch eben mal vorher erklärt wird, warum und wie ich das mache, und das wird ja auch getan und das funktioniert auch super. Wenn man nur zu Hause ist, dann sieht man nichts Neues, und deswegen finde ich es auch wichtig, auf andere Betriebe zu gehen, nicht nur in Deutschland, sondern auch vielleicht mal ein bisschen weiter weg, um mal neue Sachen kennenzulernen.
Meine Erwartungen an den Austauschpraktikanten, an den Landwirt, sind, dass er mit großer Offenheit an unsere Betriebszweige herangeht, dass er sich dafür interessiert, wie wir wirtschaften, aber auch, dass wir mit ihm über unsere Betriebsweise diskutieren können, dass er uns vielleicht auch einfach neue Impulse, neue Ideen gibt über Sichtweisen, die wir noch gar nicht so gesehen haben, weil sein Abstand zu unserer Arbeitsweise natürlich deutlich größer ist als die anderer Personen. Ein Austauschlandwirt würde bei uns in die täglichen Arbeiten mit eingebunden. Konkret bedeutet das, dass wir sowohl auf dem Hühnerbetrieb, in der Eiersortierung, in der Betreuung der Tiere, in der Verpackung, in der Auslieferung, aber auch im Bereich der Schweinehaltung, bei der täglichen Tierkontrolle, bei den Routinearbeiten, die ja anfallen, könnte jemand Fremdes gut unterstützen, könnte dort auch Ideen und Erfahrungen mit einbringen, sodass wir die verschiedenen Betriebszweige, die wir haben, daneben ist dann vielleicht auch noch, sind die Blumenfelder genannt, die nach Pflege bedürfen, sodass wir in all diesen Betriebszweigen einen Praktikant mit einbinden könnten, sodass wir dann ein großes Spektrum verschiedener Betriebszweige einfach für den Austausch anbieten können. Austauschprogramme in der Landwirtschaft sind für mich persönlich sehr wichtig, weil ich einen Großteil meiner Erfahrungen in der Ausbildung oder Erfahrungen, die mich heute im Beruf wirklich deutlich weiterbringen, die habe ich im Ausland gesammelt. Und es hat mich immer wieder bestärkt und bereichert, wenn ich aus Auslandspraktika wiederkam. Es war immer toll zu sehen, wie Landwirte in anderen Ländern wirtschaften, welche Herausforderungen sie dort haben. Und ich glaube auch, dass es für unseren Betrieb eine Bereicherung sein wird, wenn wir Praktikanten aus anderen Ländern oder gar aus Afrika hier beherbergen können, sodass wir einerseits von deren Einstellungen, von deren Arbeitsweise lernen können, aber auch bei uns der Betrieb, unsere Auszubildenden, unsere Mitarbeiter, auch von den Austauschpraktikanten, Austauschlandwirten lernen können, somit für sich, aber auch für uns ein Bauteil für die weitere Entwicklung des Betriebes werden. Für unseren Betrieb, aber auch für den Betrieb des Austauschlandwirts.
Thank you. So now we continue, and we will continue with the introduction of the panelists, of whom we would like to learn their perspectives on the topic of the challenges and potentials in the promotion of agricultural professions for young people. Thank you very much for agreeing to enrich this panel. And please introduce yourself shortly and also mention the main reason why one farmer should meet another farmer from a different context, as we have seen it in the film, as it was pointed out. So again, I would like to ask Mr. Dome to start. What do you want to add to your introduction? As you said, you're a farmer yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Sonja, so much. This little movie was a very good example for showing how diverse normal farms are working, related to different crops or livestock, doesn't matter. It is always a very diverse situation on the farms, and that depends on the region, from the size of the farm, from the climate and all these things, and that is not only in one country. It is of course an international issue to see how different agriculture and farms are organized and they are working. And it is a very good expression in the movie was to take another view, another view of what we are doing on the farms, and which perspective others, young people have with their experiences from their own farms, and these exchanges, most important thing we see in these activities.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Dr. Klaus Dröppelmann, I was counting 5 African countries you have lived in. I learned you are living there for more than 30 years, and lately you conducted a study in Uganda and Rwanda. And please introduce yourself shortly and then share with us what you have learned.
Thank you very much, Sonja, and hello to everybody. My name is Klaus Dröppelmann. I was invited to participate in this event on the strength of my affiliation with the Center for Rural Development, who I conducted the study with in Uganda and Rwanda in 2019. But I would first like to go back a little bit and speak about my motivation to get into agriculture in the first place. When I finished school, I told my parents that I wanted to study agriculture, and they responded, "Why would you want to do that? We're both coming out of agriculture and we can tell you there's not much money to be made in agriculture." So then they sent me to job counseling, and the gentleman there said, "So you don't have your own farm and the extension services are being cut down. We don't need these people anymore. Are you sure you want to do this?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And I had a plan. I wanted to go into the development corporation. And then I started studying agriculture. As part of my studies, I went to Africa the first time in the late 80s. I went to Namibia. And at that time, Dennis mentioned already the demographics of Africa. In the late 80s, we had about 600 million people living on the African continent. By 2016, we had 1.2 billion people living in Africa, of which about 40% are below the age of 15. That's about 500 million young people. That constitutes the entire population of the European Union, by the way. And they all want a decent living. They want to pick up a profession where they can earn money and feed a family. And most of them come from agriculture, have an agricultural background, live in the rural areas. 2/3 of the workforce in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa, is employed in the agricultural sector, but only 25% of the GDP is generated by the agricultural sector. So you can see that the agricultural sector is tremendously important for Africa as a continent, but is not really very fertile ground to eke out a living. And for that reason, the African Union Development Agency has set up a program to revitalize agricultural, technical, and vocational education and training systems in the African countries. And they were joined by the Gesellschaft for International Development, the German GIZ, and they have a long-standing collaboration with the SLE, with the Center for Rural Development, and asked them to help support this program through research evidence. So eventually, I was asked to lead a team of 5 young researchers to conduct a study in Uganda and Rwanda in 2019. Christian, who is also sitting on the panel, is part of that team. And we try to assess the challenges and benefits of a stronger integration of the private sector into the ATVET system, because the focus of education and training changed. In the past, it was all for the public sector, for extension services, for agricultural administration. Nowadays, the policy is agricultural growth should be private sector led. In order to make that happen, the training system and the education system has to change, has to focus on the demands and requirements of the private sector. For that, you need to engage with the private sector, and that was the field that we worked in. We assessed the perceptions, opinions, and the needs of each other, of the different stakeholders. And the stakeholders that we identified were the staff and management of agricultural training centers, the students of the training centers, and the private sector companies that may want to interact with these training centers on training and education. And we took an action-oriented approach. So we didn't just talk to the individual parties, we also brought the parties together and made them interact with each other. We aimed to get them to develop a joint vision for future collaboration to improve the ATVET system. And that then should lead to more attractive jobs, better qualified people, and more agricultural growth in the future. That is where I come from and what we did in the study 2019. I hope that we can get a bit more into details during the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this insight into your study. Christian, you also joined the study. You are a participant of the SLA program, or you have been. Would you please share what you experienced during the studies?
Sure, yeah, thank you, Sonia. So, yeah, I'm Christian Kramer. I'm one of the persons who was not coming into the studies with an agricultural background, but as a sociologist. What I experienced during the study, so as Klaus already explained, it was a lot about bringing actors together. And what surprised me was that many of the farmers, many of the stakeholders within the system, they knew about each other, but they didn't really contact each other. So I had the feeling that bringing these people together was very, very fruitful, also in inspiring them to see themselves as a part of a larger like economic system, to see themselves as entrepreneurs, especially for young people. This is like a very important thing, I think. And seeing people like leading fruitful discussions, there was like very inspiring to me to be part of that and to facilitate this process.
Thank you very much, Christian. So now we have Mr. Richard Semwanga. I'm very glad you made it here. You're the president of UNIFA and a young farmer too. Christian just said that it was very important in the study to bring people together. What are your experience in this term and focusing the exchange program? Richard, can you hear us?
I believe Richard was kicked out somehow because I can't see my list of participants right now. Sorry,
okay.
I'm checking on that.
Okay. So probably he might have heard us because sometimes, yeah, they're together in one room. It's several X's. We will check that. If this takes too long, Johan.
I just let him in. He's joining right now.
Good.
Okay, er ist wieder drin.
Okay, hello Richard, can you hear us? Richard? There is still a problem with the connection. Otherwise, Johannes, could you please switch on the second video and then we bridge the time until Richard is back and have a look at the pharmacy from Nehemiah Buvela Kamya, an alumni of the IWFAP 2019 program?
Yes, sure. Yes. We can have the video also right now. Just for Richard, please let us know that you're here when you can hear us, because you're included in the session, but we can't hear you right now. But please give us a sign.
Good. So we can hear
you. Richard.
Oh.
Can you turn on your video as well?
Hello, Richard, are you there?
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Sorry about my network is totally down.
Now we can hear you very well, Richard. I already introduced you. You may start.
Yes, I'm Richard Semwanga, the president for the Young Farmers Federation of Uganda. First of all, I'm very sorry for my network. I'm up country, this side of Fort Portal, and the network is totally down for MTN. I'm trying my best to be part.
Okay, the connection is getting worse again.
Even now?
Richard, I propose we have a look at the video first until probably, most hopefully, you have fixed your connection. Okay?
Okay, it's okay.
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 Then we'll go with the second video. The video of
We'll come back to it.
The pharmacy.
Sorry.
Welcome to the pharmacy. The pharmacy is 50 kilometers from Kampala. That's if you have used Gayaza, Kabanyoro, Busika, and then Zirowe. This farm is a fruit and vegetable farm, and it's in two parts. This is part 1, seated on 3.5 acres. Then we have part 2, seated on 2 acres. Part 1 is where we have a homestead, we have a training school, we have a banana plantation, and it's where we do most of our vegetables. Before I went to German, I was doing strawberry open field, but in the ground. So at the time of ripening, the strawberries release an aroma that is very sweet. So the insects will smell the strawberries more than you. So they will come and begin destroying your strawberries, either by eating them or sucking juices from them. So these are tomatoes. These tomatoes are indeterminate. Does everyone know indeterminate? You cannot determine their height. There's a determinant type. A determinant is that one that does not go very far here. Then these ones are indeterminate. With indeterminate, that means you cannot determine their type. Here we do different varieties. There are normally 4 that we do. This one is a new variety on trial, but it has performed very well. It is resistant to wilt. I planted 120 plants here on that net and down, and I lost none of them. I got attached to UNIFA when I was 36, just 2 years back. But I'm very grateful for the 2-year journey that we've moved with UNIFA.
Okay, thank you very much for this video and for this insight. Richard, are you back or are you here now? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
That's great. Now we can hear you too. Would you please introduce yourself?
Wow, that's good. Yes, once again, I'm Semwanga Richard, the president for the Young Farmers Federation of Uganda, and I'm happy to be part of this discussion tonight. You've not heard again? Jesus. You can't hear me still?
Now we can hear you.
Yes. Oh, let me just please station here.
Oh. Say again.
Let me just be stationed where I am now, so that you can hear me very well.
Okay, stay there and speak. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much for the welcome. And I'm sorry for the network and the interruptions in the program. I don't know where I can tip in.
So this is becoming a little bit difficult. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Oh, okay, that's already very good. So we were at the point that all the panelists introduced himself, and now we would like to come over and after the video to step into the discussion.
All right.
We have now, sorry?
I can hear you as well.
Okay, that's very good. So we have now the chance that in the chat, there were already several questions asked, and we have the luck that Johannes and Jana will help us to bring the questions together to the panelists.
Yes, I have one question here.
Okay, so we start with these questions. Are you ready, panelists, to jump into the discussion?
Because also this question is not directed to a specific person. Whoever might answer should answer. The question is how to encourage and engage young people to venture into farming and agriculture.
Who would like to start?
Beg your pardon on the question.
Maybe, yeah, it's also a question for you, Richard, since you're engaged with UNIFA. The question was how, in what ways and how to encourage and engage young people to venture into farming and agriculture, like how to promote the whole thing to young people.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, as UNIFA, we are trying to engage young people right from the age of 12 from schools, such that they can grow up knowing that agriculture is an occupation, agriculture is a profession, and agriculture is a business. In that when they grow up from school, knowing that they will comfortably in the future take it out. Secondly, as UNIFA, we are trying so do a lot of education, and hopefully you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Yes, I was still saying that as UNIFA still, we are doing a lot of education and training. And in so doing, we are so much engaged in capacity building, providing hands-on skills, and again, providing fun to this youth. You see anything associated with fun, youth will come for it for the first time, and they will love it for the rest of their lives. So in the capacity building, we've had partnerships with AHA, we've had partnerships with Agricultura, which has been so resourceful to us as young farmers to build our capacities as leaders and again as a farming fraternity. But also in the hands-on skills, UNIFA has engaged and arranged a lot of symposiums. It has organized a lot of trade shows. It has organized a lot of agri-tours. All this we are trying to make sure that our young farmers get to see what others do, get inspired from farms, and put this exact knowledge and skills in practice. Also, we are trying so much as UNIFA to strengthen our structures right from farmer level at the village level, that is the farmer group, and come to the district, come to the regions, and up to the apex body. So we want these structures to be quite strong enough in that we can reach to our young farmers and we can spread this information of agriculture being a business and the only way to live through the structures. Also, other technologies, other services can easily flow to our young farmers through the strong structures that UNIFA is building. maybe to have the last one for now is that UNIFA has so much engaged in the exchange lists, and one being the IFEP, which is very prominent, like you've just seen the video, that someone went to Germany and he came back, he implemented what he really acquired from Germany. And it is not only him, but a number of people who have come to Germany. They can testify on ground that really their mind, their way of doing things, and their expertise was really changed. And this one also is within the country where we do a lot of exchange lists, such that we can inspire and even equip our young farmers to go back and implement on their individual farms. I beg to stop there for now, as other discussants are also putting in their submission.
Thank you very much, Richard. I'm very glad we could hear you, because this was a very complete list already of things you could do to encourage and engage young people. By the way, this question comes from the Philippines. And we can see this is really not only a problem in Uganda or Germany, it's all over the world. So, as I said, Richard already gave us a long list. Who would like to add? What else could be done to encourage and engage young people to farming and agriculture? Klaus, please.
Thanks. I agree with Richard. I think the key term, or one of the key terms, is farming as a business. We have a lot of, especially in Africa, but we also used to have that in Europe, this negative perception. If you can't do anything, you can still be a farmer. Farming is a highly complex profession. You need to be very well educated to do it right and to succeed in it. And we need to change that perception. Here in Africa, farmers are still very often perceived as poor rural dwellers. And there are many of those. We tried to change that, but we also need to change the perception of anybody that lives in a rural area and generates his and her livelihood from the soil as being a poor person. That is not correct. In Germany, we have also negative perceptions about agriculture, where farmers are seen as the main polluters of the groundwater and so on and so forth. So it's not restricted to Africa, where we have still a lot of negative perceptions. And I think we should try and do more about changing those perceptions. And obviously also a lot of other things need to be changed, but we need to work on our minds very much, because we can't do without agriculture.
Yes, please.
I fully agree, Klaus, with your opinion, especially to the perception of the people, especially from their view from the cities to the landscape. But how can we change this mindset in Europe and in Africa? What are the ways? Is it a better communication? Should we invest in agencies which explains what to do, or is it a kind of communication, or what is a way? We are thinking about that related to the different kinds of agriculture. And there's another picture we found in the normal mindset of the people. It is that the farmers are a little bit stupid for one case and not so well educated. That is another picture and a problem that we see. How to deal with that? Do you have an idea?
Many ideas, but no definite solution. I think one is, the starting point is interaction and communication. And then you can use a lot of different media to achieve that. In Germany, you can use TV. There are quite a few programs that bring agriculture into the homes of people. Here in Africa, I think it's a bit more difficult. We have the medium that has almost 100% saturation is cell phone technology. So if there is a way to connect people from the cities with the rural areas through cell phone technology, smartphones, I think there are a lot of different ways. We also used theater groups in the past to educate rural communities about a lot of different things, HIV/AIDS awareness and participatory extension approaches and so on. That is basically brings knowledge from the city to the rural area, but we also need to find ways to bring the knowledge from the rural area into the cities, because a lot of people move. We have a strong and fast urbanization process in Africa. And we will have more people living in cities in Africa in relatively short time. It's the same process that we had in Europe many years ago. But maybe Christian, you have also some ideas how to reach these people.
Yeah, thank you, Klaus. Yeah, I think one important thing, like now talking about the study we conducted in Rwanda and Uganda, I found was, yeah, a bit like the lack of a connection to role models. You know, because I think to many young people, when they see farmers, they see maybe their parents or their grandparents being smallholder farmers, but they don't see it as an opportunity to grow and to develop. And you know, young people, they want to use, like, develop skills, they want to apply them, use innovative technologies, use their creativity. And this is, like, I think, a big thing on the attitude about becoming a farmer. They think, okay, I have to move to the big city to apply my skills and to move one step further. Whereas you need, like, some training programs and, like, maybe also awareness raising issues, like having extension workers going to schools or having young entrepreneurs going to schools and showing, okay, I could develop my product on many steps along the value chain. For example, they could not only do the production and the inputs, but also do marketing and, like, have, like, a whole business growing. And I think these inspiring stories, they need to be told more, especially in Africa. For the German case, I'm not entirely sure, but I think also here you can see a lot of, you know, I live in Berlin and I have a lot of friends who are now, like, turning towards, like, gardening, and they really, as a consumer, they start to more critically analyze. But I sometimes also get the feeling that they have, like, a kind of odd idea of how farming works, like a kind of romanticized, very abstract idea. And I think, like, just starting exchange, and also, you know, they have always this idea of, like, this ecological, sustainable agriculture, but also, like, fostering exchange between, like, people who do conventional agriculture with people living in cities would really help.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Christian. I see there is Dennis. Please, how you wanted to share something?
Okay, thank you so much, and thanks, Mr. Doma, for that interesting teasing thing. How do we change the perceptions, and how do we bring on more young people on board? First and foremost, one of the most important things, and my president has talked about it, is to organize them. So putting up platforms for young farmers is an area That is very important. For your sake, in Europe, you have the rural youth movements that is combined with the Catholic or the Christian movements. So, and they are all over to try to motivate many of them staying in the rural areas. For our case, we have less of these farm organizations, so we need to have them all over Africa, where we have umbrella bodies for youth in agriculture. These will act as change agent platforms, because they will show that there are some young farmers that are doing it and are proud of it. First of all, then the second one is to motivate them. Those that are doing it, they need to be incentivized. There have to be incentives that will keep them into doing that job. Because if they come and their fingers are burnt, many go back to other sectors. But if there are incentives that can keep them in, just as you have the common agriculture policy, your side with the different subsidies and incentives, which is not happening here in Africa, it's important to have incentives that can help young people that have started something and can do it better. Then the third is skilling. And this skilling is it's to provide them with more skills that can broaden their horizons. And in this also will involve curriculum changes that are needed within our curriculum. Many come out of school as agriculturists, but only want to advise, not even to start a farm. So the curriculum also has to change, where it makes more of young people who become young scholars who become farmers. Then the fourth is about the policy environment. And this is about making the rural areas very active. How? By making them conducive for all in terms of the connection. Now you see the president is like, for instance, is now 400 or 350 kilometers from the capital. You see the network is breaking and all that. So all these things are the ones that will bring about rural-urban migration. But if the rural areas are having schools, they're having good network, they're having roads and all these other amenities that would be enjoyed in the cities, then it could be very easy to have them there. And lastly, Christian has talked about it. We need to have role models. Last week, one good footballer died at the age of 60, Diego Maradona. Everybody knows them across the world. We need to bring out the role models, the young farmers. As everybody is talking about Maradona, is talking about Messi, is talking about Michael Barak from Germany. How about we talk about the young farmers? How do we bring them as role models that are coming across? So the inspiration that you get from this, that's why you have the academies for football, and because they are seeing these role models on TV and all that. So we need the best farmer competitions. We need the food price farmers to increase across the world such that people are known and inspire others. I think I can stop there because I can add and add and add. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dennis. You mentioned the incentives, you mentioned the role models. In this context, Margarita is questioning here, or giving us an interesting question. She's asking if we here do refer to youth as a homogeneous group of young people, or are there differences amongst young people? If yes, along what line and what lines, and do we have enough information about the youth to target actions? You can read this in the chat. I think in these terms of role models and incentives, would these be then different role models, or what do you think about her question? Thank you for the question. I see Klaus is already raising his finger as yes.
Yeah, thanks. I had a response to earlier, and I think it ties in with Margarita's question. We actually have a specific recommendation in our study on that issue. We propose something like an ambassadorship. Graduates of ATVET schools or students of ATVET schools can access a grant to study an agricultural profession at the ATVET Center on the condition that afterwards they become an ambassador to the ATVET system, and they go to schools, become a role model to the younger primary school students. And there it ties in with the question from Margita, because it starts at primary school. We heard in Uganda that girls are being shooed away from natural sciences. No, you're a girl, you don't need to learn about physics, about chemistry, about biology. You should do something different. And when it comes to applying to colleges and so on, the agricultural colleges want to see your grades in chemistry, physics, biology. And they say, well, if you didn't do those studies at school, you can't even apply to our school. So our recommendation is to change that, to encourage young girls to pick up natural sciences so that they can go into agriculture. It was pointed out to us that that is a real bottleneck. So that, together with the ambassadorship, would be our two recommendations for that.
Thank you. I see now that, and I can assure this is not a promotion event for your study. Please, many participants are already asking, how can we get this study? Would you please share the link to your study here in the chat? So if someone
I put the link already, it's on the SLE website. All the studies that have been conducted over the past 57 years now, you find all of them there, and they're downloadable as a PDF. So it's very easy. Just go to the link that I put there, and you should find many, many publications.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Great. Okay, so we can go into detail later on in terms of your study. Here's another question. Young farmers need more information on importance of agriculture and how it can help them. Okay, this is more a statement. Thank you. So there, I see behind that there is the question, if this is too difficult to get information. Mr. Dome.
No, I would like to add some or one little point to the education in learning agriculture. As you know, the system in Germany is that you have both parts in your 2 or 3 years to learn about or how to become a farmer. And one part is the practical doing on a farm or different farms, often 2, sometimes 3 different farms year by year. And the other time you spend in school, sometimes in blocks for 2 or 3 weeks, sometimes each week a day. And as you maybe know, we are, as an organization, a part of, we take part in responsibility to create how they learn, how they what are the issues in the school and so on. And my point is to add here that public affairs should be a part in the future, and it is necessary that each farmer is able to be an ambassador for himself to his neighbors, or to the sometimes critical asking people from Berlin or other big cities, Christian, to be able to explain what he's doing. That is sometimes not given today, because he's very perfect in all these technical issues in agriculture, in livestock, what I mentioned before. But this active communication and public work, I think that should be a larger part. And that is something that Dennis said too. we need those kinds of ambassadors, but the first one is a farmer himself.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. There is even another question to you from Steve. Steve, please ask your question.
Stephen Kiwiwezi, I might ask for him.
Oh,
he posed a question to me, sorry. And he's saying, I haven't learned of any country that developed its agricultural sector without a strong agricultural extension spine. Kindly share with us how Germany agricultural extension is developed to target young people to grow their farm. We may borrow an idea or two. So I believe this question goes to Mr. Dome, talking about landwirtschaftliche Beratung.
Yeah, what we see here is we have a lot of parts in our consulting systems. There are some official, some are private, paid by the farmers, and the economic scales are very important. That is a very main issue related to environmental and sustainable issues, which are the basement for making the future sure. But there we have more consultants than needed in the kind of because some are paid by fertilizer companies or so on, but they are all interested in giving support to be successful in the farms. But the main and the most important thing is the step before. What I said is a very good education in the agriculture schools to give the new farmer generation an open view to different perspectives, be it to enlarge the farm in the current way, or to change, for instance, to another way, or to start with energy, or to start with other ways. That is the most important thing, is the basic education in the normal way and in universities too.
Thank you. Is there another question, Johannes?
Yes, I have another question here from Seth Ruta, a future participant of IFIP. He says, he's asking, agriculture is seen as a very high-risk business in Uganda. Is it viewed the same way in Germany or other countries?
Can I answer that?
Please.
It's a universal rule. Agriculture is high risk, low profit. That's why banks stay out of it. They have completely the opposite business model, low risk and high profits. That's my personal opinion. I think that is one of the key issues. Producer prices worldwide are too low, and that doesn't make agriculture attractive as a business. Agriculture has a lot to offer. It's not purely or only a business, it's also a lifestyle, but the economics have to be in place. It has to make sense to do farming, and for that our producer prices around the world are too low. In Germany, if you look at the agricultural sector there, and I'm not an expert for German agriculture, but my impression is that you either have to have a very specialized big farm, or you have to have a diversified farm. And you have a good customer base, like direct marketing of your products, where you can get a higher premium for biologically or organically produced produce. That is in the absolute infancy in Africa. Here, your farmers are price takers, they're not price setters. And that also needs to change, otherwise we don't have a chance. Of course, education plays a huge role, but even with the best education, if you don't get a good price for what you produce, you will go under.
Someone wants to comment this, that farmers are price takers, not price makers. And especially, as you said, like in the European agriculture, we have the subsidies, which is not the case in Africa or in Uganda, as we were comparing.
Yeah, that is a worldwide situation, that they are price takers, and that makes the situation so problematically. It is the basement of commodities. If you have wheat or maize or swine, that is always related to international markets, more or less, with all these border controls or rules to import and export and trading activities. But the most important thing is that always the price counts, given by whatever market is, and related to the different economic and ecologic standards worldwide, and that is the problem. I see that too. Mm-hmm. And the situation in Germany is a little bit more complicated than Klaus explained. You have not only the big sized farms and on the other hand the small size direct marketing making. There's a mid-size, and it is with a lot of diversification, and but there are less farmers than 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, and this change in losing farms is a problem too, and that is not the reason because we don't have the young people which are interested in working on a farm or to become a farmer for themselves. It is related to the question, how can I compare my perspective for me and my family to other possibilities in other jobs or in possibility to earn enough money.
Thank you. Someone wants to comment that? Like, for example, the loss of the number of farms. How is the situation in Uganda?
Thank you very much. In Uganda, the situation is alarming in that the farmer has no direct impact on the price of a given commodity that he produces. You find that he can produce a given commodity, then there is a middleman to take up now the mandate, and the middleman will go directly to the market. Or even if the farmer wants to go directly to the market, you will find again middlemen in the marketplaces. So you find that the farmer will always get a very lower price, and in the end, he might even fail to realize the incurred costs of production. So it is quite alarming and kind of challenging to us who are trying to organize these young farmers in that at the end of the day, they want profits of which they at times don't realize because of the dynamics of the markets in the country. I don't know how we can pick a leaf from countries that have tried at least to kind of lobby for a minimum price for a given commodity, in that a farmer can at least produce a given commodity while knowing very well that in the end of the production, I will at least realize this kind of profit on that given commodity. So it is an advocate for us to those countries that have tried to lay down policies that really try to help out farmers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. There are more questions in the chat. Johannes, would you like to read them out?
Yes, I'm here. The one question from Thomas Karte is he's asking, how did Germany manage to convert the ideology of agriculture being taken as subsistence venture to a commercial active? Probably to a representative of the German farmers, directed to Mr. Dome or...
Is the question clear? Probably, can you repeat the question, please, Johannes?
Yeah. Thomas Kart is asking, how did Germany manage to convert the ideology of agriculture, being a subsistence farmer, as it is for a lot of Ugandan farmers, to a commercial active? So like that, yeah, when did this change happen and how did this happen?
Dass man von der Selbstversorgung und
so this situation from the subsistence farming is I'm not an agriculture historical expert, but it started during the industrialization in Europe, end of 18th century, more or less, from my point of view. Then we had a lot of developments because there were a lot of possibilities in the montan and iron and coal industry in Europe, and so they had less chances in the small farms, and especially in Eastern Europe and in Central Europe too. So the managing of this was a chance to earn more money out of agriculture, and that came back to make the farmers larger and to give them more profit, because the size was growing. That's a very short version, because I'm not. So that was a way, and this way has been started more or less, yes, 200 years ago, and it is still on the way, because as you know, we have maybe around 250,000 in Germany, and after the Second World War, we had about 3 million farmers, some very small, some minded subsistence working, but that's now that really fast changed because of the economic development in Germany in the last 70 years. So, as you maybe know, the value of the German farmers are less than 2% of the German income in a year. That is so we speak about a very, very small sector. As you know, automotive and technology is important for the whole economy value in Germany, and we are a very nice but a very small part in this concept.
Thank you. So there is another question.
I'd like to add.
Sorry?
Yeah, Klaus Doppelmann, I saw you want to add.
Yeah, if I may, I could add to that. I don't think the process is much different in Africa. It's just at a very different stage. We also have transformation of the agricultural sector here. We have the move towards value chain development, which is exactly that. You start adding value to what you produce on the land, and that creates jobs in the dairy industry, in the fish industry. You don't sell your fish dried in the local market. You tin them, you export them, or whatever. It's fruits can be turned into juices, and that is basically manufacturing. So the more jobs you create there, the less employment you need in the agricultural sector. This is the whole economic transformation process, and it's the same. It's happening in Africa, but it's at a very early stage. Germany is at a very advanced stage. The process is the same.
Any further comments to the statement? The process is the same? No. Okay, then we jump back to a question from the chat. There is one from Rosalie Joven, or Joven, I don't know if this is Spanish. Johannes, would you read it out, please?
With pleasure. Rosalie Joven is telling us about one best model and approach I did was conducting farmers field school and on the model farm. That's where they learned and go back to their own farm and apply it. This support came from international non-governmental organizations. Now in Germany, what is the extent of support of the government to farmers through subsidies or any form of support? And what's the difference in Africa?
So I guess this is in the field of skills and learning, capacity building. So again, Mr. Dome, I think it would be you who could answer the question on the structure and how extension and capacity building is organized in Germany.
Yeah, I will. I think it depends on this question would like to point out the subsidy policy, more or less. Okay, and I'm really polite if any other would like to answer here for this. But the situation is not a German-wide situation. It is for the whole EU regulation that the model is that the farms are supported in getting money related to the size of the farm, and the reason for that is to equal the special situation, the German and the Europe standards in ecological and in welfare issues happen, and this is one step. And the second one is to support special projects in direction of diversity and biodiversity and so on. This is only a short overview, but that is a way. The kind of support in Africa, I'm not I don't know what happened there.
Then we will ask Richard probably, and then for sure Klaus will comment. Richard, could you help us with this question or the answer?
Thank you very much. And the extension system is entire list every sub-county has for both crop, veterinary, and fisheries in areas where there is fish.
Oh, again, the connection is bad.
Production. Only that also that currently few, if can you hear me?
No, sorry, I hear very bad.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I was still saying the extension system is entirely under government, where you find every sub-county has extension workers.
So I understood the extension.
Only that the extension, because one extension, but you find the ratio is more or less to 15.
Sorry, we get only parts of it. Dennis,
Yes.
you can jump in now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with the extension, as the president was saying, it's basically entirely government-led. We had a decentralized extension system at the beginning, and it didn't work out well. And then they went into a single spine centralized system where the government is supposed to put an extension worker in each and every, the lowest level is a sub-county, which normally our sub-county is having between 15 to 30 villages. So meaning it has residents that are more than 3,000 or 4,000 residents. So in there, they're supposed to have one extension worker for crop, one for livestock, and one for fisheries if there is a lake or they're doing some fisheries. But the challenge is that these are still overworked because one extension worker is having almost around those 3,000 or 800. The minimum extension worker to household level is around 800 households to one. So meaning they're still overwhelmed and understaffed, and with less resources to provide to the farmers because it's not yet fully functional and a strong extension base. And nonetheless, there are other players that are coming in, just like our associations, ours as UNIFA. We try to, because we have so many young people who are extension agents, just as the president himself and others, to try to advise farmers, and then civil society organizations, and then international NGOs. But these, most of the times, are localized within their project area, where they are doing some extension and doing the work for the people. This is still lacking. And the other challenge is that the levels of competence, as opposed to the Landwirtschaftskammer that you have in Germany, where the advisor is advising a farmer who is more literate. Here, the levels of literacy are still incomparably high, where you find that the extension worker has to solve all the problems a farmer has, yet it's not possible. And that's the biggest challenge that we still have with the extension service, and more is still needed. Especially that is why we are saying the policy environment and all that are still the ones that are supposed to be worked upon.
Thank you, Dennis. Klaus, you want to comment for sure.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Richard and Dennis. The extension system across Africa is understaffed, under-resourced. That's why we need different modalities. I think we need a community approach. The Farmer Field School is a very good approach. We also have the lead farmer system, where lead farmers become the intermediary between the farming community and the extension officer. So everything that increases the efficiency of the extension network, we need to apply, because there are too many farmers and too few resources to put extension agents on the ground. But I also wanted to comment on the subsistence subsidy issue, because we do have subsidies in Africa. Usually they are on fertilizer. It's a hotly debated topic. And to me, the greatest shortcoming of these subsidy programs is that they're politically motivated. And the efficiency in what the fertilizer does in the field and in the community is second priority. That is the problem. So we have to also work on the political leadership to take agriculture serious and not have a subsidy program as a vote buying scheme. Mm-hmm. Agricultural subsidies are there to support agricultural production.
Thank you.
Yes, but with what Klaus is saying, yes, the subsidies are more into SADC, just the Southern Africa, especially in the countries of Malawi, Zambia, South Africa, but not in the other part. In East Africa, it's still something that we just think about. There are no subsidies in the greater part of the Sub-Saharan Africa. And most of the times, as you have said, they are politicized, just coming in once in a while to provide the fertilizers. And that is the only thing, whenever we talk about subsidies, that comes into the menu for the African farmers, more into, it's the only thing that we talk about as a subsidy, but it's not everywhere. And in many where it has been politicized, it brought a lot of problems, especially in Malawi and Zambia, and in fact, many are rethinking about the subsidies in that area. But for us, like in Uganda, there are no subsidies. Farmers have to find their ways of surviving. If you can't, go to the bank and borrow. If you can't, get out of the business. So that's the problem. So we have no subsidies, as opposed to what is happening in Europe with the Common Agricultural Policy, all down in South, in Sub-Saharan, especially in the SADC areas with South Africa and Malawi. But again, you see the subsidies again in those countries because again, there was a big white population that was doing farming, again, at a commercial level, and try to enforce, because that's the subsidies you see them in South Africa because of the biggest commercial white farmers, or in Malawi and Zambia. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Doma, please.
A question to Dennis again. You said, and if the bank didn't borrow you the money, you have to go out of the business. What happens with that farms where no one is? Is there a neighbor continuing? That is the first question. The second is, what is about not agricultural investors today?
Okay, thank you so much. What you have to note is, one, that the biggest producers of food are the smallholders south of the Sahara. And these smallholders are having an average of 0.5 hectares to 2 acres, 2 hectares in total. So meaning that they have small pieces of land, most of the times that are taken to be risky to the financial institutions. Secondly, these small pieces of land are the pieces of succession. So you find one is just having 2 hectares. Those are around 7 or 8 acres, and they are subdividing them within the siblings. Each of them is taking 1 hectare. So as they are growing, they cannot make a bankable proposal that the bank can take. And if the bank cannot see any business in a smallholders, that's why you find that it's very, very hard for them to take credit from the banks because of that. Then secondly is that there is no guaranteeing for these loans from the government. So remember, many of the finance institutions are commercial, so they mind about profit. So if there is nobody to back up the farmers as they are getting credit, so they would just take any other sector, like the mining, like the service sector, people who are going to construct hotels and all that, because this is feasible. If you fail to pay, they will take over the building. But if I grow maize and fails to grow, there's nothing you can take. So that's the biggest challenge with acquiring loans for the farmers. And then the aspect that you have of some farm succession is still lacking here, especially where you find that if I'm getting out of business, I can easily sell to my neighbor to increase the farm. Here, it's not very easy in that everything is owned by the family and the family decides who takes over. So you can't easily expand the farms like you can easily expand them in Germany because more farms are becoming bigger as the number of farmers is becoming smaller. Here, the number is not changing so much, but the farms are becoming smaller and smaller because they are divided. And it's a big challenge for growth of the agricultural sector, where we need to understand the aspect or the aspect of generational farms or farm succession. How can we have farms of more than 50 years? We don't easily find them here in Africa because the farm lasts in the farmer's lifetime. If the farmer is off, that farm is gone, and you find the children are doing something else. But also the other aspect, again in that one, is the increased urbanization rate. We are growing, the urban areas are growing at 5.2% per year. So you find there's a scramble for land for settlement and then land for agriculture. And settlement is bringing in more money as opposed to agriculture. So until we can have more productive units that can fight with other sectors, that is when we can have meaningful proposals of land, and that is when we can have meaningful bankable proposals that can accrue credit from the financial institutions.
Thank you. So this sounds very challenging to me. And then I ask myself, why does Nehemiah, for example, or many other Ugandan farmers I met in the context of the UNIFAR meetings, why do they do farming? Which incentives are there for them? What is their motivation?
Okay, thank you. Why am I doing the farming? It's because I have that passion and we have to eat, whether we need it or not. So the motivation that you get is that whoever gets the market for their produce and they're getting an income, that is the biggest motivation they have. But also the biggest motivation also comes from if you get good and nutritious food and it's coming out to the public, it's one of the biggest motivations for us as young farmers, that we can contribute, because you can easily be seen with agriculture as opposed to politics, as opposed to other sectors, because you will be supplying food on a daily basis. And it will depend also on your skills, because these are going to help you in negotiation, but also in how you can grow and have your farm. Because this is the one that determines how you can get the incomes. And the incomes that come from it are the ones that help you to keep moving. Like for Nehemiah, he's supplying, like for instance, very many, like 2 embassies. So it keeps him moving. 2 embassies where he takes his fresh fruits and vegetables on a weekly basis. He's supplying some international NGO because they have a local market where he goes and supplies. And he also is supplying the high profile niche markets in Kampala, so he can easily move these products. So the motivation is in getting the right price for what you have produced. And then the biggest one, as I've said, is trying to provide food to the Ugandans.
Thank you. Very essential point in its term. Do we have further questions in the chat, Johannes?
There's one we didn't talk about yet, but it's also referring to the German model of subsidies. Hilary Kalyango is asking, since agriculture in Uganda is less mechanized and far less productive, it's harder to access finance. How may rural youth communities copy the German model that includes agriculture subsidies and is highly productive? So yeah, this is the question from Hilary. What are rural communities to do to evolve such a model? Or is this even the thing where rural community in Uganda want to go to adapt the German model? Also a question I ask myself personally. But yeah, who might answer this? Someone from Uganda, or maybe Mr. Troppelmann?
Yeah, I think we have to be careful with copy and paste of models, learning from each other, definitely, but these blueprints can go wrong, or frequently do go wrong. I believe that a good starting point is a community approach for smallholder farmers. We had the German Development Corporation has a long history in trying to set up, initiate, support community projects, but they frequently fail because of poor social cohesion within these groups. The culture of doing business together, to source inputs together, to get cheaper prices, to cut down transport costs, to market collectively, that sense is not there. You have a very strong community sense, but not in the business world. And maybe that is something that we still need to work on in order to improve things in the rural areas, to uplift whole communities. Because if you just uplift individual model farmers, it's well and good for that individual farmer. But there are many people that need support. There are many lives that need to be lifted across Africa. So I believe community approaches should definitely be supported.
Okay. Hello? Yes.
Oh, yes, Dennis.
Yes. What I think Hilary was saying is more into what can we copy from that. One, the biggest is being exposed to both kinds of agriculture. One, the key thing is that is the skilling. It's important that we copy the kind of skilling, the dual education system that helps one to become a more practical farmer as opposed to ours here. So the skilling aspect is important, the duo, which we can easily copy, especially in terms of policy enhancement. Then the other one that he was talking about is how can the governments help the farmers? In Germany, or in the European Union, the CAP is helping the farmers. Yes, there are some stringent measures, but at least the farmer will get some subsidies. We don't get them here. Most of the times, it's a political game, because many of the African leaders would not want an enlightened but also a wealth society. So if you are still weak and poor, we can lead you, as opposed to a wealthy and empowered society. So they will know definitely that the majority of the citizens are farmers, and they have the answers to them, but they are very adamant. They are very adamant, and they would not want to do it. But it's about saying that there are incentives that help any African farmer to do their business, not to do it alone, because they are feeding people, they are providing employment, they are doing all that as others. The only said what the government will say is that farmers will not pay direct tax here, but we pay tax for all the other aspects, for any of the commodities. So we are paying tax. It's only that we might not pay the direct tax from the farms of the produce, but in all, if we are buying fuel, I buy it as any other citizen. As if I'm buying sugar or soap and everything, all those are taxed. Then the other aspect that we can easily copy is the farmer organizations. Klaus has talked about it. Yes, the farmers, at least in Germany, belong to something. They belong to the Farmers Association, they belong to a cooperative, they belong to a machinery ring. We still work in isolation. We are still working, we want to usually work alone. But we need to copy on how the farm organizations are being managed and how they are engaging government on policy. Because here, we still have a big challenge on how to engage government with policy, because the numbers are still smaller and everybody is working alone. Lastly is on the cooperative movement, because these are the ones that do business for the farmers. They do sell, they do look for inputs, and here the cooperative movement was disorganized by government, like for Uganda, some 30, 25 years back. Nobody now wants to talk so much about cooperatives because they were not owned by farmers, they were owned by government. And so these are the things that we have to look at and see how the farmers that side are more advanced because of these kind of things that are helping them. And those are the ones that we have to copy and try to apply in our own context. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you want to comment this? I mean, this was really big. Thank you, Dennis, very much.
It was a very big statement from my point of view. Thank you very much. But having a look on the time, maybe we can hand over to our project, Dennis. What could our IFAB project help under your political umbrella position?
Interesting question. One is what it can help is that, as you see, we are saying what motivates us as young farmers to do the farming. One is to single out these young farmers, and then they have to get exposed to what is happening elsewhere. You have seen Nehemiah was that side. He was doing something, but when he went and stayed in Munsterland, on a horticulture farm. He came and totally changed his farm to what it is now, and is inspiring more and more young farmers. So what the IFEP can do is to expose, train more of these young people. And then the other aspect is later, with time, it can also help in incentivizing, in providing incentives to these young people who go, because they can come back and start if there is a fund that can help them move forward on their farms. Because sometimes you can pick some ideas and you can have little resources, but then if you have a pushing hand, it can be a revolving fund that it moves to each and every high IFEP participant. That is also another aspect. Then the other one is strengthening their main organization, which is UNIFA, in all these aspects that we have been talking about, in advocacy, in the cooperative movement, how we can further develop cooperatives within this youth, and then seeing how we can change it. So it's a big complex thing that the IFEP can do, but all has to start from exposure and continuous exposure, at least for a given period. If we can expose 10 to 20 young farmers every year, after 1 decade, you'll find that you'll have a big mass of young farmers, well empowered and strong young people that can even help others to change the agriculture of Uganda and that of East Africa. Even with this IFEP, you are seeing that we are becoming a very strong organization, because we are the only ones in East Africa that other countries are trying to come to us. How do we formulate the young farmers? How do we expose our young people? So it will be also another aspect that in 2, 3, 4 years, we can even have an East African exchange with Ugandans, Kenyans, Rwandans, and all those. And this will help us developing as the East African community. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this was a complete answer to your question. And if you have a question, you always can come back to Dennis. This always works. I would say we take a last question from the chat and then wrap up, having a look at the clock. So there is Andre Sprinzi. He's saying, thank you for the interesting discussion. What are the potentials for agricultural cooperatives to better integrate young people in their businesses? And what platforms do you perceive as promising when using digital tools for the exchange of knowledge? So this can go into both directions. It's about how to integrate young people in their businesses using digital tools for exchange of knowledge. Yes, Christian, please.
So when we conducted the study last year, we've seen that hosting internships is like one of the best ways as a first way of access for young people to any kind of organization, like be it a business, but also working in like using cooperatives in like maybe even providing future interns with like the best pharma to be hosted at. So I think like, strengthening cooperation with technical and vocational schools could be like this entry point. Using digital tools, I think there's like, the cheapest version is WhatsApp, definitely, but I think what makes still more sense, because it really depends on the internet coverage in rural areas. So what could be used as well are like text messages. So like if you need information, you could write a text to a certain number and they provide you with necessary informations. But however, this is like a kind of costly thing on the side of the host mostly.
Yes, Klaus, please, you want to add something?
Yeah, it's really just an addition, because I fully agree with Christian. We have to remember also that the cell phone sector is by far the fastest growing sector in Africa. So the saturation with cell phone technology is almost complete. I mean, there are a lot of pockets in remote areas, but most farmers nowadays have access to cell phone. There's a lot of investment in extension services using cell phones. And what I think might be a very worthwhile addition is also to set up community of practices where you have peer-to-peer exchange between farmers, not extension officer to farmer, but between farmers, that they exchange their experiences with each other and help each other. And that way also, instill a sense of community, maybe leading to collective action, like marketing their produce together to access new markets, because in a lot of cases, supermarkets are willing to buy from smallholder farmers, but they need volume and quality. And if an individual farmer can get the quality, he struggles or she struggles usually with a quantity. You need to get together, and cell phone is the tool that is the best choice, I think, for that.
Okay. Do you want to add something on this question, Mr. Dome? From Dennis, I can say his second name is Mr. iPhone, so he knows cell phone is the key tool.
I would like to ask my colleagues from Scholemar about their opinion, if there's any idea to take part here.
Sorry, come again. Is it? Yeah, Mr. Klima.
Yeah, I think, well, as I listen to the different statements, and I was really well thinking about what Africa can do for the young people, and also here in Germany, what we can do, and also our job here at Scholemar Foundation. Also, I see ourselves as catalysts for this whole process. And actually, I also saw how interested young participants in our webinar actually ask a lot of questions, especially to Mr. Dome. And I also thought that probably we have to bring more members also from the German Farmers Association, and also of the different associations here in such kind of webinars, as we can't travel at the moment. Probably we also don't have to travel. I see also actually there's a lot of interest young people have in what we are doing here in Germany. And especially also, I saw the chat where the SLE also provided its literature, the books and the reviews and the studies. There's so much knowledge here in Germany, and I think such kind of webinars should also support this whole process of communication, and also to get in contact with policy makers, I think. And this is also what Scholemar Foundation is doing. And that would be also my statement for the moment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have heard today so many times, bring people together, let them exchange experiences. I heard how well perceived the IYFAB, this exchange program, is already, even though only 2 rounds took place. When I hear from Professor Hanisch that there is the 58th SLE cohort. So this is amazing, and probably like something in the future we could focus for this program. This is what I wish for the program, definitely, that will continue. As we have heard, this exchange and bringing people together is super important. Interaction, communication. I could list down a lot of keywords. I think for such a short time we have covered a lot of topics, and as already 2 hours have passed, I would like you to give your final words for today, because the year will end soon, but the series of events will continue, I believe. So please, Mr. Doma, Mr. Droppelmann, Dennis, probably you could speak if Richard is not available, and Christian, please give your final comments for today. We start with Klaus. You're on top of my screen.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to participate in the discussion. It was very interesting. I think the key words are communication to achieve action. What we want to see is action, collective action, but to make that happen, we have to talk to each other. That's the essence of our study, and that's, I think, also the essence of our discussion today, that we need to bring people together to move forward together.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, also thank you from me. It was very exciting to be able to join. I did learn a lot. And yeah, I wish you all the best for this exchange program. This is, I think, an exciting opportunity for a lot of people.
Thank you.
So, Richard, Uganda, also I wish to thank everyone who has been part of this discussion. And I ask for more networking for increased food security in the whole world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This was from Richard.
So thank you very much from my side too. It's always a pleasure in this project, as you know, and we are looking forward to have a lot of interns from Uganda here in Germany and send our young people to you. We are on a very good way here in this project, but it can only be a first step in enlarging our connection and our discussion and going ahead. Thank you very much, and good luck, and for all of you, good time for the time being, and hope we will meet each other here again and again and again. Thank you.
Thanks. Also in the chat, I can read many thanks for this interesting discussion from different sides. I also would like to thank you for this year-end event, and hope you got some impulses and insights in the topic of motivation of the youth to enter the agricultural sector, and also to enter the program, the IYFAB. And we got an idea how the different organizations are also involved in this work, and how important it was said many, many times, this strengthening of the organizational structures is. With this, I would like to close for today, as you said.
Not before I took the chance to thank you very much for your perfect moderation of this meeting. Thank you so much, Sonja.
Oh, the pleasure was really all mine. Thank you very much. It was really interesting for me. Sometimes difficult, as I wanted to add something on the topic because I'm also burning for the development of agriculture and rural areas. So all the best to you. Stay healthy and see you soon. Thank you, Johannes and Diana.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yes, have a great time.
Thank you, Dennis.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
You get some rest now, Dennis. Alright, naja, gar nicht schlecht.